Hi everyone, it's Evangeline here at etrailer, and today we'll be taking a look at the add-on for your RockyMounts 2-bike platform rack guide rail. So if you have the 2-inch version of the guide rail and you want to turn your 2-bike into a 3-bike rack, this is going to be the way to do it. So this is going to work the same way as your guide rail. You have the same specs for like your wheelbase or your wheel sizes. This just adds an extra tray. Another thing though is you do lose on weight capacity. So with the 2-bike version, there's 60 pounds per bike. Once you get that add-on on there, you only have 45 pounds per tray. I do like how having multiple bikes up there still work together. So you can see this has a true stadium feature where your trays are higher than the other. This gives you a lot more clearance for things like handlebars, seats, pedals. You can move them back and forth on the tray to get the best clearance. And when you work with multiple bike racks, like 3 or 4, you get to a really tricky part with taking the bikes off. But this one helps out with that. So what if you're carrying everyone's bikes, you have your friends, your family, and you need to drop a person off? Well, they have the heaviest bike, so it's closest to the vehicle. Rather than taking all of the other bikes off so you can get your friend's bike, you can actually just take one bike off at a time. And to do so, you first need to loosen the levers by pushing in, and then you release the mount out. And the way this works is you can push this all the way down to the ground. That gives you full access here to pull on your bike and get that out of the way. So that's their solution for the difficulties you get from more bikes. Now, when you have bikes of similar sizes, similar weights, similar wheelbases, those can get tricky. Now, definitely check out our full demo of the RockyMounts GuideRail if you want an in-depth review about that. But your add-on is going to work pretty much the same way as your guide-rail. Now, when securing your bikes on your bike rack, you have those wheel mounts, but you also have some locks. So these are going to be chain locks. The one included with your 2-bike rack is this longer chain, and the one included with your add-on is this shorter one. So it really is designed for just that single bike. So this works as an extension piece, meaning you put your shorter chain in through the locking chain, bring it all the way to the end, wrap this around your bikes, and then loop it into itself before you lock. Since your end cap is the same, your keys are the same too, so unlock the end cap so this pops out. Wrap your chain around your bikes carefully. Then you're going to get your short end, fit that through the large loop, and then this is going to secure into the rack. Push the lock core in, and now you're tight. So you can see how this creates a strong and sturdy chain around your bikes. Now, I do not recommend driving around with this on just because road vibration can cause harm to your frames. So when you're parked somewhere or you're concerned about where you are parked, just put this chain on, lock it down, keep the key. I personally would use my own extra cable lock just because this large chain lock is kind of short and I'm not able to run it through the front tires of my bikes. So using them both together would be helpful, but it's nice to know that this gives you an extra lock that can be used with your current key. The add-on though does not add on to the tilt-away lever. So notice where it's the same location as with the 2-bike. So you are going to have to lean in and reach in to get to that lever. And once you pull the lever, you then have the weight of your 3 bikes coming down at you. But notice how with the normal height of my car, it still doesn't reach the ground. It's definitely an awkward move though. So I appreciate the 45 pound per bike max capacity because that would be pretty heavy with a lot of electric bikes coming down. But it's nice to know that I can tilt away because then you can open up your hatch, lower your tailgate, open up your trunk to grab whatever you need from inside of your vehicle without taking your bikes off. Now, when lifting up, I do recommend holding onto the frame of the rack and not the frames of your bikes. That way you have good support. When you bring it up, it snaps into place, and just like that, you're ready to drive again. With more bikes, you also have more length added to the back of your car. So, measuring from the center of our hitch pin hole on the hitch receiver to the end of the rack, that's going to be 44 inches of length. As for ground clearance, so my hitch receiver is 10¼ inches off the ground, and this sits 25¼ inches off the ground. So you have 15 inches of rise from the bottom lip of your hitch receiver to the bottom of the rack. We've seen how it looks like here in our studio, but let's take it out onto our test course to see the rack in action. So we're going through our slalom, which has the quick turns, sharp turns, U-turns, and this is pretty solid. I'm not seeing any excessive sway side to side. Approaching our test course speed bumps, so we start with the alternating speed bumps, which has the side-to-side movement, and the bikes are holding on strong. There's a little bit movement for the wheels, but definitely sturdy. The up and down movement from our regular speed bumps shows the up and down of the shank. So the add-on did not add any extra movement to the bikes on the rack. So it has the same sturdiness and the same pros and cons of the guide rail. Now let's start by taking these bikes off so that we can take a look at the rack and later on show you how to install it. So remember that lever we used to tilt this rack away? Well, you also use that to fold the rack up slightly heavier. Now that there's 3 trays, but this folds into the upright position. This will change for your backup camera in your rear window, so let's take some measurements. So for your closest point, that center of the hitch pin hole to the closest point on the rack, that's gonna be 6 inches away. And your furthest point, center of hitch pin hole to the end of the rack, is 16 inches of length added to the back of your car. The height of the rack, I measure from the bottom lip of the hitch receiver to the top of the rack. That's gonna be 36½ inches. And that'll help you figure out if it will cover your license plate, your backup camera, or your rear window. So you can see the benefits of having a 3-bike platform rack over a 2-bike. So maybe your family has expanded. Maybe your kid is ready to go and join you on the trails, so all 3 of you can now hit the road. Or maybe you have more friends and family and you want to be able to carry your bikes around. So some bike racks say that their add-on process is easy and it's simple and you do it real quick. This one actually is. You can keep the add-on in your garage, put it on, takes about 5 minutes, and suddenly you have a 3-bike platform rack. So let's take a look at that process. You get all the tools included, so you get a 5mm and a 6mm Allen key or hex wrench. You have all of your little bolts as well. And you just need to start with your 2-bike rack installed in your hitch. You can bring out your chair, your rolly chair, your camping chair. It's pretty easy. Start by removing your end cap that has 2 bolts on the side. Once those are out, you can just pull this out. With our large mast assembly, we're just going to tilt it forward so you can see the large blocks. And that way we can push those large blocks into our rack. This will just help line things up to keep it straight before we start threading. If it's pushed all the way in, your holes will line up and then you can loosely thread these side bolts. These came from the side of your end cap. Now you can tighten down the add-on, so we'll start with the 2 middle bolts. Next, tighten down all 4 side bolts. Now you can get your trays and slide them in until the middles line up. So do the left and the right tray. Now put the middle brace in over those holes. So once all those holes are lined up, you can then pop the larger bolts in and through. I like to just slightly tighten them so it's not skewing one way to the other. And finally, pop that end cap in and tighten it down with those 2 screws. I like to just double check all the bolts and make sure they're all tight. But after that, that's it for the install. You were able to set up your add-on real quick. So if you liked the 2-bike guide rail, the add-on is a seamless experience. You use the same key, you use almost the same chain, or you can use your old chain too. You have that same experience for the mounts as well as the wheelbase, wheel capacities, etc. What you do lose out on though is the weight capacity. So having 45 pounds per bike versus the two 60-pound bikes can make a difference if you're carrying around extra heavy electric bikes. Also, this is a single bike add-on, while other bike racks may offer a 2-bike add-on instead of just one. So hopefully this video helped you out. If you want to carry around up to 3 bikes, you like the guide rail and its design, you have the 2-inch guide rail version, and you don't have extra heavy electric bikes, then this is a great add-on for you. And if you have more questions, check out our product page, our pictures, and our descriptions where we write out all the specs and measurements to help you find the best fit. This right here was a look at the add-on for your RockyMounts GuideRail 2-bike platform rack at etrailer.com. My name is Evangeline, and I hope you enjoyed the journey.